swap Bill for Bob. Because these don't have any control surfaces above certain airspeeds, they will just keep this dead straight, so I'm going to have to do my pitch over maneuver very early. Which that may have been too early. Which it most certainly was. We're going to call that a simulator. Well, no, we're not. We're going to own the consequences of our failures. At the very least, we can get Bob back home. Going to try that again. On this launch, I played it safe, went up really steeply. It was very inefficient, but it did eventually get the job done. Didn't pick up a whole lot of forward velocity, so there's quite a bit of a circularization burn at the top. But after the last failure, I wasn't really inclined to start pitching more expensive rockets into the ocean just for the sake of doing so. So this is what I ended up with to finally get my first orbital flight. Can't quite figure out what planets those are supposed to be. I'm pretty sure that may be Jewel. Chase this node. I was hoping to dump this stage back in the atmosphere, but oh well. Well, I believe that'll still be somewhat in Let's see. Try and reorganize this orbit a little. And that is orbital. What? Obviously, none of the Mercury astronauts ever went on EVA. I need to take some artistic license with history. All in the name of science. Let's see. Info. Okay, battery power is draining rapidly, so I should probably wrap this up. I'll try to put it down over the deserts so I can gather some science there. Set my periapts down to at the very edge of the desert. I'm playing with TAC life support mods, so I've got to keep track of electric charge, food, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide. But flying over the night skies of Kerbin. Retro burn is go. With that electric charge, he will last about 2 hours, which is more than enough. He is very rapidly on his way home. Another time-accelerated return. Basically, I kept the engine pod attached for as long as I could to make sure I made it over the desert. I'm trying to use all my different Mercury-style missions to come down in new and interesting biomes, so I can just gather the local Kerbal science there and be done with it. It's probably not going to work out because there's some that are really hard to hit, like the Badlands and mountains. I'm intending to build a science plane that I can just fly around to the different biomes if need be. But to do that, I got to unlock the science parts. I'm already seeing a problem with this idea for a series in that a lot of these early stages are just really boring, either suborbital or orbital flights, trying to get that early science so I can get some more interesting parts unlocked. So I'm going to try to make these a little more interesting than this video has been so far, but it's just slow going and the nature of the early stages of the game right now. No rovers, no airplanes, just Mark 1 pod and a couple Kerbals. With the science we got from Bob, we can finally unlock Science Tech, which should give me many more experiments to run. Okay, and I'm going to start from a clean sheet and design a new MOHO spacecraft. One with a little more capability. And I'll do that by creating a service module. Some batteries. Oxygen hex can. And some water. As well as science experiments. This is gonna take a little bit more rocket to put into orbit. And as I designed this more powerful rocket, it occurred to me that if I just start using the original 3 Kerbals over and over again, they will end up with all the Final Frontier accommodations. And mainly you gotta keep Jeb from sneaking into the cockpit every time you turn your back. So it was about sometime in the very near future I figured out that maybe I should go to the astronaut complex and hire some new Kerbals so I could spread the love around. Just doing some minor tweaks to get everything as correct as I want. And this right here is the raster prop monitor external camera. I'm going to make sure to show that off in the launch. They're really cool. I do have the whole cam mod installed, and they give you a bunch of different options. One of my personal favorites, just because the name and the model is the Kerb Pro. Obviously the GoPro's non-union Kerbal equivalent. But here we go, searching for the most intelligent and or courageous Kerbals I can find. Select 2 new victims, or heroes, I'm sorry. And very truncated training procedure. He goes from the recruitment office straight to the cockpit, which some might find convenient, but he could, if this doesn't work out, he may end up regretting. Going to do the majority of this launch from the IVA just to show off some of the different things that a raster prop monitor can do. It's, like I said, it's one of my very favorite mods just because it's so ingenious. And there's that external camera, high def, multifunction glass cockpit nav ball. And it's running away like Kerbin said something mean about its mother. Just slap some of the very, very smallest SRBs on there. They're extremely cheap in the mod too, which is convenient. Before powering up the thrust vectoring LVT-45. So I have a little more control authority on this rocket than I have on the others. Quick peek out the window and back to my controls. The zoom resolution on the raster prop monitor scales really well. You can pick up all sorts of details in your different views. And like a genius, I launched at night, so everyone gets the spectacular view of, well, darkness. Make sure I get that high altitude crew report, which I've already done. And this is one on the very far left. That's one of the orbital menus. I do believe later on I click over to the other one that'll actually show your orbital flight path. It actually looks like the Space Shuttle's orbit display from Orbiter. I wonder where they could have possibly got the inspiration for that. But radar altimeter is really cool. It shows you altitude over time. There we go. There's that other orbital screen. For some reason, I guess I didn't like my nav ball on the right. And that's not the skybox flickering in and out. That is not a glitch. That's the distant object enhancement. When you look at something bright like a planet, or in this case the sun, your star field tends to become obscured, much like real life. And I just love the look of those night cities. Like I said, they're probably not scientifically accurate for such a little planet, but they just look gorgeous, even in that small, low-res camera. Tried zooming in to get my stage jettison, but it really just kind of disappears behind the rocket as I fire up the main. I was hoping I'd get a little tumble out of it, but not so much. In fact, I still got to perform most of my circularization burn at this stage. Just creeping up on that node. Before we go wide open throttle. Start burning for periaps. Which I built this ship for long duration stays, but I'm already seeing another problem in the Mission Control Extended mod, is that, again, in these very early stages, I'm tending to get very impatient and just trying to grab as much cash and science as I can without just totally resorting to easy mission spam. But my long endurance spacecraft flight was basically me getting this into the air and up into orbit just long enough to accomplish my mission and then flip it retrograde and bring it back home, which is a little anticlimactic. Need to work on my showmanship there. I also need to learn how to figure out these MCE buttons once and for all. I keep forgetting which one does what. I seem to have the memory and attention span of a poorly trained circus Kerbal. But now that we've done all the hard work of getting to orbit and accomplished our goals, I immediately bring our brave adventurer back home. Didn't even let him make a full orbit. Which that's one of the things I'm seeing as problematic in some of these MCE objectives, is they don't, so far at least, I'm not seeing any that have me count actual number of orbits or time spent in space. They just want you to hit a minimum or maximum. They want to get you between a minimum and maximum apoapsis and periapsis, and once that turns green and you get your mission accomplished flag, then you can just flip around and come home instantly. But again, these are really boring early flights, so it's maybe for the best that I'm not spending all my time running up laps around the planet just to say I did. Silent drifting through the cosmos. I'm going to spare everybody my Carl Sagan impression. Most of all him. He was a dear, dear man. Trying to get a good look at those cities through the external cameras. They don't come out quite as well, but it's the secret U2 spy camera mounted on a Kerbal capsule. But it is entirely possible to fly a whole mission from the IVA with raster prop monitor and have even more information than you would get from using the map screen on a standard flight. There are other mods that readjust some of the MFD screens to make them even more real-life-ish, which if you've ever played like DCS A10C or Flaming Cliffs 3 that have like the F-15 or even some of the Russian fighters, it really makes your MFD controls and your options more like that. Obviously not with the military slant, you're not checking weapons stores or anything, but just kind of adds some more real-world functionality, because the raster prop monitor was really, it's mainly more of a plug-in, and the author will even testify as much that he didn't really build it for usability, just to get the core functions in there and let people who are more in the know work out the details later. But start adjusting my orbit. Take my science readings, which once again I do not have vessel recycling, so can ditch all these fragile little science objects into the atmosphere, because, well, it wouldn't help me to bring them home. And very quickly in the next video, I will show the return of this mission.